Jewish Channel's Week in Review. Senator Ted Kennedy's Israel connections. We investigate the Swedish organ harvesting claims. A boy donates his bar mitzvah money for a playground in Stay Road. Meditating Jewishly, and more of the Jewish news that's changing your world in this webcast version of the Week in Review. Hello, and welcome to the Jewish Channel's Week in Review. I'm Stephen I. Weiss. The passing of Senator Ted Kennedy has some Jewish relevance. Besides being a beacon for a Democratic Party that garners the votes of at least 3/4 of American Jews, Kennedy is also seen as having a strong connection with the State of Israel, such that Israeli leaders left and right are mourning his loss this week. The far-right Israeli Foreign Minister Avigdor Lieberman spoke of Kennedy in a statement declaring, "Kennedy was a great friend to Israel and the Jewish people, a protector of human rights and member of a prestigious family who stood by Israel's side in its most trying times in his many years as a member of the Senate." And on the left, Israeli President Shimon Peres released a statement declaring, "Ted Kennedy was a great American leader who was also a great friend of the State of Israel. He has had a strong and original voice that was heard and respected all over the world." And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said, "Kennedy has been a friend for 30 years, a great American patriot, a great champion of a better world, a great friend of Israel. He will be sorely missed." While Kennedy was in the Senate, his votes on Israel reportedly were in concert with the Israel lobbying group AIPAC 100% of the time. And given that one of the hottest topics in America today is that of healthcare, and that Kennedy was one of the fiercest advocates in the Democratic Party for healthcare reform, much of the coverage about Kennedy's passing has focused on this issue. And interestingly, there's an Israeli connection there. Kennedy visited Israel in 1986, and Israeli President Peres recalled that it was to study Israel's healthcare system as a potential model for reform here in America. Peres said, "I remember his visit to Israel was basically for the first time to study the health insurance system in Israel, because he saw already at that time that the health issues are going to be central ones for the American people." Moving on to another topic regarding Israel, the controversy regarding a Swedish newspaper's claim that Israeli soldiers are harvesting organs from Palestinians has grown since we reported on it last week, with Israeli Defense Minister Ehud Barak going so far as to say that he'd like to find a way to sue the newspaper, Aftonbladet, for libel. We've been doing our own reporting on the issue over the past week and are prepared to reveal some strong inconsistencies between what we found to be true and the claims presented in Aftonbladet. The editor-in-chief of Aftonbladet, Jan Helen, initially agreed to appear for an on-camera interview with the Jewish Channel, but then stopped returning our phone calls early this week and did not appear at the scheduled time. Some people we did speak with include medical and policy experts on transplants and foreign officials about Aftonbladet's claims, which have now been repeated around the globe. If you're interested in reading an English translation of the Aftonbladet article, we've made one available at the TJC News blog, which can be found at newsdesk.tjctv.com. First, the French embassy denies Aftonbladet's claim that it has, quote, ceased organ collaboration with Israel in the 90s, as the article claimed. A spokesman from the French embassy in Washington told TJC, quote, "We are not aware of any such agreement, and the administration that deals with transplants in France is not aware of any such agreement, even going back into the 90s, adding, "We do not understand where this information is coming from." The only transplant expert cited in Aftonbladet's report is a Dr. Francis Delmonico, incorrectly referred to in the article as Del Minici, a widely regarded expert in the medicine and policy of organ transplantation. But he told TJC that he was never contacted for Aftonbladet's story. When we asked for his assessment of the article, he told TJC, quote, "I don't believe it." Delmonico raised questions about a number of aspects of the report, including his suggestion that transplants using organs from those killed in battle most likely cannot be done, saying it becomes remote because viable organs could be traumatized as a result of a war injury, and further, organs need to be removed in a specific process. And even then, the organs would need to be mapped with potential recipients in a very short time frame of less than a few hours, which Delmonico said isn't likely. Delmonico also contested the idea that an autopsy wound is potential evidence of organ harvesting, as Aftonbladet claimed, telling TJC, "I don't know of any such practice today." Delmonico also contested the idea that Israel, as Aftonbladet claims, has a poor reputation in the transplant community, and actually praised Israel as a leader in proactive legislation to avoid organ trafficking. Nevertheless, Aftonbladet's claims are receiving heavy circulation in the media and the internet. And it's not at all hard to find those who believe the claims that Israeli soldiers are harvesting organs from Palestinians, including YouTube commenters on our own newscast of last week. Many such claims, like Aftonbladet, cite the arrest in the United States last month of a Jewish man on charges of organ trafficking, despite the fact that the arrested man is not alleged to have been involved in organ harvesting. The claims also frequently refer to the arrested man, Yitzhak Levi Rosenbaum, as a rabbi, even though he is not a rabbi. We would have appreciated the opportunity to discuss the inaccuracies we found in the story with Aftonbladet's editor-in-chief, if he had made the appointment we scheduled for an on-camera interview. The invitation to appear and explain these issues remains open. Meantime, Aftonbladet continues to defend and push the story in 2 new articles this week. Moving on to much sunnier news about Israel, a bar mitzvah boy donated his thousands of dollars in gifts so that children in a rocket-torn city in Israel can have a safe place to play. Rebecca Honig-Freeman reports.
12-year-old Benjamin Sternklar-Davis has lots of interests and plenty of opportunity to explore them at his Manhattan-based family's summer home in the Hamptons.
I love swimming, and I play baseball and tennis. I'm doing windsurfing, and I do trapeze. I like active things.
But this summer, he added an even more unusual activity to that list: philanthropy. When Benjamin's parents offered him a substantial amount of money in honor of his upcoming bar mitzvah, he chose to use the sum to build a new playground in the rocket-torn city of Sderot. And he's playing an active role in the design, drawing on his own particular strengths.
Well, I'm a kid, so it's going to be easier for me to decide. I'm going to say, like, if I was living there, what would I want it to be like? And I just want it to be a great place, so I'm going to try to make it as different as I can in a great way.
To learn how this family has bigger plans for even more playgrounds in Sderot and how you can get involved, tune into the broadcast version of the Week in Review.
Thank you, Rebecca. Another charitable initiative is bringing together young Jewish professionals so that even younger Jewish children can afford to attend Jewish schools. Christian Needon reports.
Hundreds of people turned out at Lucky Strikes Lanes in Chelsea Tuesday night to bowl for Jewish education. With the cost of Jewish education a major topic these days, tickets for the event, thrown by young Jewish professionals, cost $100, which went toward providing scholarships to New York Hebrew School, a cause for which attendees were in full support.
I think that it's important to have a Jewish education, and I think that people understand that, and it wasn't really a problem for me, but I think that it's important that people have a chance to go to Jewish school and no one's ever turned away.
For more from the event, see the full broadcast version of the Week in Review.
Thank you, Christian. If disco bowling isn't your speed, a new center focusing on what it calls Jewish meditation may be for you. Rebecca Honig-Freeman reports on reaching a Jewish nirvana.
Beer, Jews, and enlightenment might sound like a strange combination, but bringing together ideas that might seem incongruous to some is precisely the goal of the newly formed Jewish Meditation Center of Brooklyn, which last week held a launch party and fundraiser at the Gowanus Yacht Club in Carroll Gardens, Brooklyn. For some attendees, it was definitely something new.
I always associate meditation with the Eastern religions, and I don't really see anything in my own Jewish education growing up to really identify meditation with it.
To hear from the founders of the Jewish Meditation Center and find out what drinking and meditation have to do with each other, see the full broadcast version of the Week in Review.
Thank you, Rebecca. That's all for this week. For more news and analysis from the Jewish Channel during the week, please check out our blog at newsdesk.tjctv.com. For the full broadcast version of the Week in Review, including additional stories, interviews, and features, please stop by the Jewish Channel on cable. From all of us here at the Jewish Channel, be well. The Jewish Channel is available on cable: IO Optimum Cable Channel 291, Time Warner Cable Channel 528, Verizon Fios Channel 900, and Cox Cable Channel 1. For more information, visit tjctv.com.